FearScape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time.
Hey everybody, Stefan here. This episode is sponsored by the great folks over at Box Mountain. Box Mountain is a subscription box service that has my favorite sub-box yet, the Cryptid Crate. You see, Josh got one of these for his birthday, and I was super jealous because it was packed full of merchandise pertaining to cryptids. The box he received first was all about the Flatwoods Monster, which of course is one of our favorites, and it had a t-shirt, a book, a patch, mug, and some awesome stickers. So I checked out the price to get one for myself, and let me tell you, it is well worth the value. These make excellent gifts for yourself or even friends that are cryptid lovers as well. Now, if you use the coupon code FearScape, you will get 25% off the first month for any new subscription or 10% off individual purchases. So go ahead and head on over to fearscapepodcast.com/cryptidcrate now and get yourself one today.
Hey everyone, Josh here from FearScape Paranormal Podcast. Have you been to our website, FearScapePodcast.com? There you can check out our store with all of our awesome t-shirts, check out guests that have been on the show, listen to the podcast directly on the website, even donate and help us bring you awesome content. Please consider supporting us. FearScapePodcast.com.
Hello, I'm so glad you could join us. I hope you brought your blanket to hide under. The spooky crew is going to discuss things and events from other realms. Ghosts, cryptids, aliens. Be sure to hold your blanket extra tight as the boys take you deep into the FearScape.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another frightening, fantastic, phenomenal episode of FearScape Paranormal Podcast here on the FearScape Media Network. I am your host, Stefan Gearhart, and I am joined, as always, by the mountainous Josh Rutledge. What's happening, brother? I like your. I know they can't see this, but I like your mountain background, man. Like, I wish I was joining you camping in your fake background.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a really great place to be because the weather is always perfect. You don't have to worry about trees falling or any of that kind of stuff. Also, I just thought that, you used three words that make the F sound, but the last word was PH, right?
Phenomenal, yeah.
I wonder, right? Maybe we should switch to PH FearScape. Maybe that,
Oh, yeah. Pretty hot and earscaped. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I almost said phlebotomist, but that wouldn't have worked either.
That would have been weird.
I almost said a dirty one that rhymes with Palacio, but I didn't want to say that one either. So I didn't bother with that. No, we got a really cool show tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening as you continue to do so. We've got our good friend Vashti, the real medium. Vashti Hooper is back on the program with us. She's going to be joining us for our research into the topic of the spiritualism movement, the spiritualist movement of the late 19th century and early 20th century. All the tappings and the knockings, and basically, in my opinion, kind of what kicked off the New Age movement, to be honest with you. And we'll be talking about that with her, since she herself is the real medium. We're going to be talking to her and having a good old time as we usually do. But of course, in the meantime, Josh, we've got other stuff we got to talk about as we do. So let's get moving right along. Into the very first segment, which is the psychic word of the week.
And now, the psychic word of the week.
All right, our psychic word of the week comes from the Encyclopedic Psychic Dictionary from June G. Bletzer, PhD. Rest in peace, Honey Bear. Oh, it still breaks my heart when I found out that she had passed away. But I flipped through, or actually, you gave me a number and said, go to this page. I don't know where you pulled it from. I don't want to know. But you said go to page 67, and I went to page 67, and the first word that I saw was biocommunication. Biocommunication has three different definitions. The first one says laboratory. It says the rapport of two living organisms in a laboratory experiment who have organic changes relating one to another. For example, one heart gaining beats and the other losing beats. 2, esoteric. An individual drawing energy psychically from another individual when in the other's presence, consciously or unconsciously. Shit, we call that psychic vampire. Number 3 says Russia. Name for various types of telepathy requiring studies of cybernetics, information processing theory, neurophysiologic science, and quantum physics. That was hard to say. So, yeah, I mean, you know, using your body to communicate. I just call that the language of love.
Oh, it's going to be an interesting show tonight.
A little winky wink there, a little spinky dinky dink there, a little ear flapping there. That you're just letting somebody across the room know what's going on.
So would you like to know where the page number came from?
I do.
I put Vashti's name into the cipher, and it equals out to 67, and so I told you to go to page 67.
Nice.
So
nice.
We'll see if that happens to work its way into the conversation at all tonight.
Biocommunication. I did like the first one, which was really weird, where they were talking about two organisms like being in an odd type of sync. How like if one person gained like heartbeats, the other one would lose heartbeats.
It reminds me of so in a binary star system, there is always one dominant star that like takes a little bit of material from the other star every time they come close to each other. So that's what it kind of reminds me of. It's like they're linked together somehow, but one is dominant, so it's always taking something from the other. I don't know. Right.
And just, again, weird. I mean, I would have never, I guess if you really think about it, I mean, yeah, biocommunication, because like I said, that second one was straight up psychic vampire. Somebody unintentionally or intentionally taking someone's energy, being in the same room with them. That's what we call psychic vampire. But like communication though, like communication seems like such a very word that means a back and forth. You know, like to me anyways. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah,
communication implies, I guess, two-way communication is what you're saying.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it doesn't have to, because you could just sit there and I could communicate to you, but I mean, you're listening to, so I don't know. I'm just a guy.
Maybe I'm hearing you, but I might not be listening to you. That's what my wife tells me all the time.
Man, same. All right, well that's what we got from JGB PhD. So let's go ahead and move to our newest segment, which is our cryptid of the week.
Hi y'all, it's the Jersey Devil. Hope y'all are ready to meet some of my friends.
Cryptid of the week.
All right, so we are, this is our new segment, week 2. I'm loving this, man. Like looking at all these different cryptids. This week, I'm pulling it out of my book. Comes and actually heard this guy on NPR like 2 years ago. I was listening on a Sunday, and this author was like, "Oh yeah," it was weird because like I was just starting to dig into cryptids, and I happened to be on NPR listening. There's a dude talking about cryptids, man. So I immediately bought his book called The Monster Book. His name is Nick Redfern, who we've heard Nick's name a number of times.
Yeah.
But I opened up and found one in here called the Van Meter Monster. And so immediately I went to Western Kentucky University, and there's the big Van Meter ghost there. It's different. This is in Iowa. All right. This says one of the strangest of all monsters is Iowa's very own winged thing, the Van Meter monster. The mystery began in December 1903 when a terrifying beast plunged the town of Van Meter, Iowa, into states of hysteria and fear. The story began with a resident of the town, Dr. Olcott, whose extraordinary encounter made the pages of the New York-based Watertown Herald. According to the press, the doctor grabbed a shotgun and ran outside the building where he saw a monster, a half-human, half-beast with great bat-like wings. A dazzling light that nearly blinded him came from a blunt horn-like protuberance, Lord, in the middle of the animal's forehead, and it gave off a stupefying odor that almost overcame him. The doctor discharged his weapon and fled into his office, barring the doors and windows, and remained there in abject terror until morning. So for some baffling reason, there were fears in town that the monster would raid the local bank and empty it of all the cash. So this led one Peter Dunn to spend the night in the bank with a loaded gun. However, this was a wise move. As the Watertown Herald noted, in the early hours, Dunn was momentarily blinded by a bright light that filled the bank. Boy, the beast was back. Eventually, Dunn recovered his senses sufficiently to distinguish the monster and fired through the window. The plate glass and sash were torn out and the monster disappeared. Next morning, imprints of large three-toed feet were discernible in the soft earth and plaster casts were taken. And it says this is not the end of the story. There was a climax that came the following night. At this time, the whole town was like into this. Professor Martin, a principal of one of the schools, decided that from the description, it was an antediluvian animal. Shortly after midnight, J.L. Platt, a foreman of a brick plant, heard a peculiar sound in an abandoned coal mine, and as the men had reported a similar sound before, a group of volunteers started investigating. Presently, the monster emerged from the shaft, accompanied by a smaller one. A score of shots were fired with no effect. The newspaper rounded things off with the following. The whole town was aroused and a vigil was maintained the rest of the night, but without result until just at dawn when the two monsters returned and then disappeared down the shaft. So it's almost like the Ahul we talked about last week, except for it's got a unicorn horn that is also a flashlight.
Well, I mean, so my daughter would tell you that unicorns use their horns to do magic.
I've watched Legend. I know.
So I mean, it's very well that that's like a spell, like the Harry Potter Luminos or whatever.
Supposedly, a lot of early wands were indeed that they were horns, and of course, there were a lot of people saying that they had a unicorn horn and that was their wand, but usually they weren't. But yeah, so I just think if he's living in a cave, he needs light. I think it's just a flashlight. And dude was just coming out to get money from the bank so he could go get some batteries because he knew this kid was freaking out and needed his flashlight recharged. That's my opinion. Van Meter monster.
Yep.
So next time you're in Van Meter, Iowa, check out the legend of the Van Meter monster. The battle horn.
We're going out. We're going to take a trip out west this summer and hit some sites and go. What's that? The car hinge? I got to look up and see.
Oh yeah, car hinge. Yeah, that Stonehenge made out of cars. Yeah, I wanted to do all that.
Like we're gonna go. We're just gonna take a 10-day driving trip and just go around and hit all kinds of stuff.
I've always wanted to do that.
But anyways, I don't know if Iowa's kind of on our route. I'd have to look that up and see.
It's usually not because it's north of Missouri. So if you're heading out southwest, you're usually going through the bottom part of Missouri. So
I can make a big loop though. I could go down southern area and make a loop and come back around.
Yep.
So
you could go up to Chicago, come on down that way, come around. I don't know. I don't know. Van Meter Monster, check it out. That is our cryptid of the week. Thank you, Jersey Devil, for introducing us to your friend. All right, so let's get moving on to our UAP sighting of the week. All right, Josh, what do we got for our unidentified aerial phenomenon sighting of the week? Is it phenomenon or phenomena? Is that interchangeable, or am I just dumb?
No, so I think phenomena is the phenomena. No, so I think phenomena is like all encompassing, and phenomenon is an individual thing. So like the phenomena is everything that's happening. A specific phenomenon would be like the Jersey Devil would be a specific phenomenon.
Right. Yes. I'm looking at it now. Phenomenon is single, plural is phenomena. All right. I will try to remember that.
Yeah. I'm just part information here. Just.
UAP, you could use either one because it's like, what is our UAP, which is the unidentified aerial phenomenon? Or is it a phenomenon? Because it could be multiple things.
Well, I think by nature of being unidentified, you have to use the plural, right? Because you can't rule it down to one thing. So you have to use the plural form.
Possibly.
So that's just my 2 cents.
Because if I don't know what this is, it's still a single thing. I don't know. Go ahead.
I don't know.
You're captain. You're Mr.
I don't
Wizard.
think that, the grammar police has not come and knock on our door yet about anything that we've said on the show.
That's a good thing. I would have been arrested a long time ago.
Yeah. All of my mispronunciation of words back when we did, Monsters of the Bible and all of that kind of stuff. So.
And the Native American ones. Oh.
And the Native American one. That was brutal.
I love those times when you're like, I think this is how it's pronounced. And I'm like, sure. Go ahead. I don't know either.
I love the times when I'm like, I think this is how it's pronounced, and you're like, nope, it's like this, and then it's like something completely different than what I said. So,
all right. Well, where and
all
what
right.
do we got?
So this comes from, and oddly enough, I don't know how to pronounce the name of this town. Quogue, Quogue, maybe East
Quogue.
Yeah, I don't know. East. I would say Quogue, but anyways, New York. So if you're from East Quogue and I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, I apologize. But East Quogue, this is back around. So it's December 23rd is when this happened, at 3:00 in the morning. So here we go.
I was about to go to bed when I noticed, through my bedroom skylight, a twinkling and color-changing light sort of hovering around. Not moving too far in any direction. It was almost like it was swaying, more dramatically moving every now and then. It is flickering different colors, including blue, purple, red, greenish, some in-betweens. I turned my light on and could still see it. I wanted to make sure it wasn't just a reflection of some holiday lights or something similar, so I walked downstairs to my dining room and could still see it in the same spot at any given angle through our large bay window. I decided to wake my brother up and show him. He was obviously confused, but still got up out of bed. It is very much like me to say something on the long lines of, hey, I think I see a UFO or something at 3:00 in the morning. He followed me to the dining room and was shocked when he saw it too. We decided to sit and watch it together, and we've continued to do so for the last 20 minutes. He's better than I am directionally and told me that it was in the southwest. It just keeps hovering around in what appears to be rotating in place. We were both super tired and honestly getting kind of freaked out, so we decided to go to bed. And here I am typing this. I hope this information can be of some use. This is super bizarre to me, as I've never really considered myself to be a person who cares about or believes in this sort of thing. The only thing convincing me right now that my brother and I aren't both hallucinating is the fact that my dad once mentioned that he saw one while fishing in the middle of the night. I could still see it for a few minutes. I really need to go to bed, so I went back upstairs and got in bed, took my eye off of it. while typing this. I just looked again and nowhere to be seen.
I could still see it.
Just a little background. I'm a 19-year-old girl, home from college for the holidays. To put it simply, I am a quite normal young adult. My brother is 16 at the moment, yet has always been extremely mature for his age. He is also quite normal and is in this type who would typically dismiss this type of thing.
Home from college for the holidays. To put it simply.
Come on, people. Seeing UAPs, seeing ghosts, or those things is not an abnormal thing. We have got to start breaking this taboo. She's 19, which means we're in an era where it is way more acceptable, yet she still feels that taboo at 19 years old. Like, come on, man. Like, I feel so bad.
Just as a check, I did pull up like Sky Safari, went back to the night that this occurred, the time that this occurred, put in my location as East Quogue, New York, to see what was in the southwest sky. And there were two pretty big stars in the southwest sky at that point in time. Sirius is out there, as well as Rigel. But I don't know, the whole changing of colors. Yeah. I've never seen Sirius or Rigel change color. They usually are pretty just a bright white light.
Yeah.
And then also, something that you and I have kicked around the idea of is, a craft hiding or sitting in front of a star, basically, hiding in plain sight. Right. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's a good account. I mean, I really, she went into a lot of detail there. So,
yep. But yeah, if you are randomly a listener of this show out in Quogue, honey, yeah, we believe you, and it's okay. It does not make you crazy. You don't even have to say you're not that type of person, because I don't know what that implies.
Well, yeah, when you say you're normal and you wouldn't know, be that type of person, that makes me think that I'm abnormal.
So I know, especially it was like, well, even my brother, who's older for his age, people now. But seriously, I mean, this is that PSA all over again. It's like, guys, it's okay to believe in this stuff. You mentioned it the other day, and we may have mentioned this to Shane, I'm not sure, but you were talking, it's like, we need to stop asking people, do you believe in UFOs or UAPs? Because we know that they exist. The whole point is that they're unidentified objects or aerial phenomena. We don't know what they are, but we know that they exist. So we shouldn't be asking, do you believe in them? Because that's like asking, do you believe in a car? We know that cars exist. We know that this phenomena exists. So we need to stop that. But what we should be asking is, who or what is controlling it? Who or what is it? Do you believe that something could be in control of it? Do you think it could be an ET? Do you think it could be Russia or China? What do you, those are the questions we should be asking.
Right.
We need to stop looking at just, UFO sightings as taboo, because they're not, to the point that the United States government and the Navy and all them keep putting together task force. So
well, and frankly, those task force have existed internationally for a long time. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's not so much of the community looks at UFOs or UAPs and says extraterrestrial. And so, like, they don't consider other possibilities. It's just automatically it's an extraterrestrial
pop culture. Yeah, it's pop culture.
Right. So. But to your point, we're not asking people, do you believe in a UFO? UFOs are documented, proven facts. They exist.
So yeah,
there have been numerous reports.
If you see one and you're reporting, you don't have to say, "Hey, I'm not crazy." There are plenty of respectable people. Jimmy Carter is one of them. There are plenty of respectable people that are out there that have seen UAPs. It is not a crazy thing anymore to even be, looked at like that. For example, we're not doing spooky news, but I mean, the New York Post just released an article that the CIA is releasing UFO Black Vault documents. I mean, and you're going to be able to see everything the CIA has looked into about UFOs. I mean, there's a perfect example right there.
Yeah.
So, whatever. So
yeah,
I'm off my soapbox, Mr. Rutledge. I'm done. So let's go ahead and get to our last segment so we can get to Vashti. This is Creepy Ketchup.
Creepy ketchup. Creepy ketchup. Creepy ketchup. Creepy ketchup. Y'all, it's creepy.
All right, Josh, I told you I haven't had anything happen in a few weeks, but you said you had a little something that happened. So what happened with you?
Yeah, so yesterday morning I was out taking some sunrise photography because it was a beautiful sunrise. And I had my camera set up on a tripod and was doing a time-lapse video. Mm-hmm. And so I was just kind of looking around in the sky and stuff. And as you know, there's a lot of air traffic, that comes over my house at any given point in time. And so I'd been watching all kinds of airplanes and stuff flying around, and happened to look over towards the sunrise to see about where it was in the sky to kind of gauge how longer I'm going to be standing outside in 28-degree weather. And I saw this flash of light. But what's really interesting, it was very much like the kind of light that you see on the front of an airplane,
or
and
on the
I was
front
like,
of a Van Meter monster.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Hey, it's just my friend's flashlight.
That monster's probably using an LED. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's probably.
Anyways, but no, it was like that kind of light, and I glanced down to my camera to see if maybe it happened to catch that light, and when I glanced back, it was gone. And there was nothing else in the sky. So I'm like, come on, man. So I'm looking around and I'm trying to, figure out, did I miss it? Is it a plane? I just can't see it. And so I look up probably about maybe, 1 o'clock. You think about it on a clock face, about 1 o'clock from where I am, almost probably 60 or 70 degrees off the horizon above me. And it lights up again. And it did the thing that it did that night in my backyard. It lit up, it got really bright, and then it phased out. And then it moved a little bit further on, and it lit up and got really bright, and then it phased out, and then I never saw it again. But during the whole time, I never, it was a crystal clear blue sky.
Yeah.
During the whole time, I never saw anything other than the light.
Right, and it wasn't like it was a flash, like it caught an airplane reflection or anything, because it was growing bigger.
It was definitely a grow to big, and then a slow reduction to
imagine how bright
there.
That had to be to show in the blue sky.
And again, sunrise was 7:58 that morning, and this was at 7:56. So I mean, it's pretty bright in the sky at this point, where it's not a star, it's not a satellite, and I wouldn't be able to see things in space. You know what I'm saying? Unless they're really bright in space. So that's my only creepy catch-up that I've had. But I mean, it was really funny because while I'm sitting there making this video, I'm talking out loud, trying to keep myself occupied. And I'm like, you know what? If alien spacecraft or UFOs or UAPs had cloaking technology, then they probably wouldn't use it very often because it would be a severe energy drain. And so they would probably do a lot of their operations at night when they didn't have to use their cloaking system. And then it's within 30 seconds, that's when I see the UAP. So it's just funny that.
Mind power.
Exactly.
You should have biocommunicated with them. You just done a little wink, 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 a little nudge, 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 a little nostril flare.
Well, I mean, my heart did skip a beat, so maybe it gave that beat to them.
Oh, and that's why it flashed. Oh, man. That's crazy. All right, well, let's get moving on. We're going to take a quick ad break, and when we come back, we're going to be back with our good friend Vashti Hooper, the real medium, and we're going to be talking about the spiritualist movement of the late 19th and early 20th century.
Yep.
We'll be back.
Something dark is here, flying in the skies, lurking in the woodlands, swimming in the rivers, and hiding under your bed. Join me, Mark L. Watson, and FearScape Media as we delve into the paranormal, the occult, the spiritual, and the esoteric, and peer beyond the veil. Find us everywhere you get your podcasts or search for more information at fearscapemedia.com.
Hey everybody, Josh here with FearScape Paranormal Podcast. I don't know if you're like me, but I've got glasses. And one of the things that I really hate with wearing my mask is that my glasses constantly fog. Yeah, I've got the kind of mask that you can pinch the nose and it's supposed to keep the glasses from fogging, but it still fogs. Sometimes I just get outside on a cold day, come back in the house, my glasses fog. Get out to pump gas, my glasses fog. So one of the things that I came across is this spray bottle that is anti-fog spray, and you spray it on and you wipe it off, and then it protects your glasses and keeps them from fogging. And I'm going to tell you, this stuff is spectacular. I've even cleaned my glasses a couple times since applying it, and it still works. I also have anti-glare glasses, and this stuff is safe for anti-glare glasses. If you want to pick up your own bottle, go to fearscapepodcast.com/no-more-fog.
And we're back. Thank you guys for sticking around. Like we said, we've got the amazing and wonderful Vashti Hooper here, the real medium, joining us to talk about the Spiritualist Movement. How are you, Vashti?
I'm doing great, doing fabulous. Sorry, I have a few guests here, so I have my mask on. I will try to talk loud so everyone can hear what I'm saying, but I'm doing fabulous.
We can hear you very well. We hear you just fine. I prefer you to be safe, so.
Yeah, perfect, good.
So you got your entourage wherever you go, right?
Well, yeah, it kind of ends up that way. It's always busy. I'm always busy, so there's always something.
Yep, always. But again, thank you so much for joining us. We thought since we were going to be talking about the Spiritualist Movement and talking about mediums and stuff like that, who better to have than you? So we thought we'd have you join us. So we love talking about this stuff. But Josh, if you're ready to get rolling, let's get talking about the Spiritualist Movement, man.
So we'll just kind of go through. I've got some good research here. And I even pulled a couple of, kind of famous, if you will, spiritualists that we could talk about towards the end and see what we got.
Are we going to be talking about Houdini?
Well, Houdini comes up, but he tried to debunk.
Oh, I know. I know. That's why I was asking if we were going to talk about him. Though.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the very, very end, he was like, yeah, this is real.
Well, he's actually one of many who tried to debunk, like Mark Twain.
Wow.
There's a lot of people. I want to say Tesla. There's like a lot of people who tried to get involved to debunk what was happening, and ended up being, kind of converted believers, if you will. Because the Spiritualist Movement was very almost cult-like in a weird kind of way. I mean, it is a precursor to our New Age movement and stuff, but it was, everybody was doing it. It was the cool thing to do. So for everybody who may not be aware, the Spiritualism movement is basically, it's based on a belief that the departed souls can interact with the living. Spiritualists seek to make contact with the dead, usually through some assistance from a medium, like Vashti,
right?
A person to believe you have the ability to contact spirits. Some mediums worked while in a trance-like state, and some claim to be the catalyst for various paranormal phenomena, like materializing things or moving objects around in a room. Which, is how the spirits announced their presence.
Right. A lot of it was what we look at now as ESP stuff. It was before it was scientifically classified. And of course, all this stuff happened long before the Spiritualism movement happened. This was the oracles of Delphi. I mean, there's so much of the stuff that was happening, but this got popular. But it included more than just interacting with the dead, because just like you said, there was telepathy and telekinetic stuff and pyro, like being able to make fire out. I mean, it's just pretty much psychic gifts is essentially, in my opinion, what you could define that time period as. Was, hey, psychic gifts are popular, we just don't have names for them yet scientifically.
Right.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, so one of the earliest accounts that my research came up with is from the Bible, and it's the visit of Saul with the so-called witch of Endor. Which is found in 1 Samuel 28, and then also when Moses and Elijah appeared to 3 of Jesus's apostles in Matthew 17 and Mark 9. So those are also accounts of that kind of spiritualist type activity. And so these are things that are in the Bible occurring. So.
Right. And that, just to kind of jump in on that, when I speak with people from my church that don't believe in what I am and what I do, I remind them of situations like that. And it's, it was there. But I think a lot of people just take other scriptures and go with those that speak on mediums and things like that. But it was absolutely happening though.
Oh yeah, the Bible is not, if you are a Christian, the Bible is not a confined piece of work. It is an example of what the people that follow this can be. Prophets are all through the Bible. Why did all of a sudden, since the Bible stopped, prophets are no longer considered, why? Oh, because... it didn't happen in Bible times. It's happening in 1942 or whatever. Like we should, psychics have always been, just like you said, in the Bible, there's a million ghosts and spirits. The Bible is the most spookiest book there really is, if you think about it. People coming back from the dead, people drinking somebody's blood. Like, this is crazy.
That's true.
So what he says here that some phenomenon associated with mediums were found among those regarded in the Middle Ages as being possessed by devils, and so there's where you have that insert, which basically, I don't want to get into the whole political aspect of religion so much, but you look at the Middle Ages and times were really hard, and so the Catholic Church or the church in general was trying to put a better spin on things, and so another way to do that would be to get people into the church and doing things the church says, and so it's find themselves to now say that if you're not doing churchy stuff, then you're doing it for the devil, or you're doing it
and you got to remember too that this, they were getting into areas like, where the Celtics were and the Druids and these people that have these psychic backgrounds that's part of their religion, and so they had to in a way outlaw these things. Like, if most people know that the devil is not, was not a cloven, hooved thing that's never mentioned in the Bible. That was the green man or the image of Pan or these other gods. They kind of took that and said, nope, this is what the devil looks like, because the devil looks like other people's gods to trick you and things like that. And so all of a sudden that's where witchcraft got banned and all of that stuff. But all of that stuff got lumped into witchcraft, all these psychic gifts and all of these things. And of course, what we've always said, yesterday's magic is today's science as well. So
and to kind of go along with that, I've been doing a lot of research on my own around the whole idea of psychic gifts, and a lot of people think that we all have them. We just basically push them down because we're told from childhood that it's not acceptable to express that part of yourself.
Absolutely.
And so,
yes, if I can jump in,
go ahead.
So I'm not sure if I shared with you guys before, but I was taught for 6 months before I started my work. And I was taught by my spirit guide. There was someone who was teaching me things specifically on a daily basis, just covering everything. We all have it. From what I know and what I've been taught, we all have it. But it's almost like if you don't use an arm or a leg, it's going to wither up. It's going to
atrophy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as children, if we weren't, the first thing that triggers people to kind of wake up and start opening those doors is knowledge, information, awareness that you even have that to turn on. So then after that, that's when you start to open up slowly, little by little, but it's a growing process. And literally, if we had started as children and over time been taught by the older ones what, it would be so different. So I have to back that up and say we absolutely all have it. Anxiety and depression, that is us being empaths. That is us feeling everything around us, and it's overwhelming. Our brain doesn't know our brain doesn't know that we're picking up other people's feelings. So instead it goes haywire. It's too much. So once you're
so many people were taught to stifle, everything, like to stifle them, especially men. Oh man, all those like old school men being taught like you can't cry, you can't show emotions, like That's absolutely, 100%. I wish it would stop being so taboo. We were just talking about this during our UFO sighting of the week, where the girl that posted her UFO sighting was talking about, like, I'm a regular person. I'm not normally one of these types of people who see this. We're like, no, stop tabooing that. Stop making it a taboo. Like, she's 19. How is it already a taboo? You know what I mean? Like, we live in the most accepted age for this stuff, and she's still like, I'm scared to tell people. Like, we should teach, because you got so many of these people. Because I also believe there are two types of people you've got, because I agree everyone has access to it, but yes, I think some people are a little more naturally gifted. Some people have to learn a little harder. Like I always talk about,
that is? You know what that is? That is how many lifetimes we have lived.
Yes.
So
I agree with that.
Right. So that ties into that. So some people are just going to flow into it more because their spirit is already. So,
That's where that old soul comes from. And it's usually people that have these gifts.
Something we've talked about before. I read that. Tie back into numerology. I've been looking a lot into numerology. And so, you have your life path number, which is given by your birth date. And so, one of the things that I read somewhere is that your life path number is what life you're in. So if your life path number is 6, you're in your 6th reincarnation. If your life path number is 9, you're in your 9th reincarnation. I just thought that was really interesting to think of it that way. And so, like I'm in, my life path number is 8. So it makes me think that my 8th reincarnation. And so, am I getting this stuff quicker now?
But the thing is that we actually, some of us have lived 50 times, 60 times. So I can understand that concept, but for me, the first thing that came to my head is that my birthday's 3/11. I'm like, I feel like I've lived 311 lifetimes instead of the first number, maybe all of them.
Oh yeah. One of my very first past life regressions that I had was of walking the Bering Strait, being the first group of people that walked over into North America. I was leading a group of people, and I mean, I vividly can still see that. Like, it was like 3 nights in a row I was dreaming about this, and I felt like that I was there, and I knew that it was a past life, and it was my first past life. Like, it was crazy. It was cool.
I've done that too, and I dreamed that I was a white guy that was like maybe some sort of sheriff or like an officer like that, maybe in a small town, and literally I had the same dream many times that I got shot in my back. The same, and my birthmark is back there. That's what's so crazy.
Yeah, I have a knot that's constantly in my shoulder, and I've had 4 or 5 different psychics tell me that in a past life, a friend very close to me shot me in the shoulder with an arrow. And it's that they always point out, do you have a pain in your left shoulder? And I'm like, I do.
Well, and I totally lost my train of thought what I was going to say. I hate when that happens.
Well, let's get back into spiritualism then.
Yeah, spiritualism. Yeah. If I come back to it, I'll bring it back up.
All right.
So let's go ahead and jump into one of the earliest spiritualists, if you will, and probably one of the beginnings of the movement, which took place in Hydesville, New York in 1848. the Fox sisters.
Oh, the Fox sisters, those foxy gals.
Both
heightened
so
it.
full of knowledge.
Both heightened the movement and then squandered it at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So we talked a little bit about the Fox sisters back when we did
our
hoaxes hoaxes episode, because they basically later on came out and said they made it all up, but they inspired the movement. Like you said, they didn't create any of this stuff, right? They just brought attention to it. And so just because they went off and later said that they made it all up, whether you believe that they did or didn't is doesn't matter, because it's still all existed with or without their involvement, right? So so in 1848 there was a severe disturbance in Kate Fox's room, and basically she challenged a supposed spirit to repeat in raps the number of times that she flipped her fingers. And then once communication had been established, they worked out a code where they could get raps and get answers to questions and all that kind of stuff. Now, as a part of our hoax show, we did talk about how they said that they were basically learning how to pop the knuckles in their toes.
Yeah, she had like a dislocated toe or something, and was able to pop it through there. Since they were kids, they could pop it so loud that it would sound like a knocking on the wall.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but that's where that whole idea of like ghosts knocking on the wall
comes from.
Yeah, but I mean, again, this is something that I believe ghosts have learned to do. Like, especially if someone in this lifetime or a few back has passed away, they're like, oh, hey, I can communicate by knocking on a wall.
Yeah.
Right.
They're going to do it whatever way they can. So, yeah, they will absolutely do it that way or any other way. But, yeah, the whole popping of the knuckle has me just kind of like trying to think about how that sounds and
how that feels. Like, ooh, I can pop my big toe, but it's like it's got to be dead quiet, and it's just like
right.
Like I broke my big toe several years ago, and when you break a toe, there's nothing that you can really do. You tape it to another toe, and then you got like cloven feet. But so anyways, because of that, I can now pop that toe really. Like I can I can sit here right now and just
I'm doing
move
that
it back and forth and pop it, and it's pretty loud, especially like if I'm dehydrated, it's really loud. But weird things about your host that she don't let know.
Y'all got some nasty toes.
Oh my god.
But anyway, so yeah, the Fox sisters, all the way through the 1860s and into the 1900s, doing their mediumship, and again, whatever you feel about the Fox sisters, they really started to bring the attention to it. And so
they were massive celebrities. I mean, they were the Elvis Presley of spiritualism. I mean, they
so they ended up being fraud. It was all fake, they said.
Yeah, they ended up towards the end of their career saying that it was all made up.
Oh my god.
Now skeptics of the fraud claim say that they were basically falling out of the spotlight at that point in time, and so they made their fraud claim in order to put them back in the spotlight.
Oh my lord! Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, anything's possible. That is a common thing. The end of days confession. That I mean, same thing like the very, very famous Bigfoot video guy. Apparently, on his deathbed, he told his kids that it was all fake and things like that.
Wow.
That crap always happens, but it's like, who knows? They could have in the end felt like they had gotten spiritual again, like legit spiritual in the church, and they had to in a way denounce that to make them feel better about trying to go to heaven or something. Who knows? Like. anything possible. But or they could have just been frauds too. I mean, I don't know.
Right, exactly. Because to me, I'm thinking frauds, because if they are mediums, that means they should be able to communicate to the point of where they don't need knocks to answer. They can just,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
And they did that stuff too. But yeah, I mean, and there's like a whole list of ways they said they frauded everyone with like moving lights, and they, you know, all those tricks you see in movies, like when it's like a fake medium that you see in movies and all that. A lot of that stuff is pulled from what the Fox sisters said that they did to scam.
I'm gonna have to look them up, because I did not know about them. That's crazy.
Yeah, they are what kicked off the whole big medium spiritualist movement, was the Fox sisters. They were super famous, man.
Oh yeah, I'm looking them up for sure.
And also the first rappers. So
yeah, they were the first rappers. They were like, all right, let's have a rap battle. I'm gonna hold up 3. That's how many words you get. Go.
But what was really interesting, I found this when all this kind of stuff was really getting big. It provoked a lot of opposition.
Oh yeah.
And like there were like verbal condemnation. I can't say the word. Condemnations. And occasionally even mob violence against mediums and spiritualists at the time.
Well, because the church, especially the evangelicals, right, of that time, which was huge. I mean, America is mostly evangelical, especially back then. They were the ones that had the answers to.
And they can get pretty ruthless. History shows how ruthless they can get, and it's sad because it is something that they believe in, and they just don't
it
have
could
it
work
right.
together so good. They have no idea how it could just benefit what they already believe. Like,
right.
But yeah.
Right. And that's so true, because it all ties together. Like, there are things in the Bible that I know are not correct for sure. But you're talking about correcting the Bible,
right.
Right. Good luck.
Yeah. So,
right.
Well, yeah.
And I feel like I can do it. That's me. I feel like I can, because just how accurate my information is and how strong my abilities are, I feel like I have a shot at making that statement and at least getting it out there so it can be heard.
Right. And I've said that too. It's like, people forget that Jesus came and completely changed what the religion was all about. Like, he came in and said, the old ways are not going to work. Why can't someone or multiple people be able to speak to God and say, guess what? These things that are now the old ways need to be changed too. That's what I'm saying. It's like, why is it all of a sudden written in stone until it's your thing? It's like, you guys forget that they told the Jews they were wrong.
And then you have a generation who is seeing they see the gaps in the Bible and where things aren't quite adding up. So they're, in order to save any part of the Bible and so that people will continue to believe in God, because that will make people, that doesn't make sense. They'll start to go against the Bible. You need to make it make sense in order for this generation to not completely just stray away.
Right. And so these people, like back then, coming out against all this stuff, much like today, these church folk coming out against gay marriage or things like that, things that are changing, all it does is push people further away. Yeah. Right. And I assume that's what happened here too, right, Josh?
Yep. So, I mean, they came, so the church came out strong and said, basically, spiritualism is witchcraft. And also, they aligned spiritualist with necromancy, which is something completely different.
Oh my God.
So, but yeah, I mean, they basically demonized it, for lack of a better word. to try to shun it and get it to go away.
Well, and they like to lump things together too, because the spiritualist movement was happening, but other movements were happening too. In the early 1900s, you had Gerald Gardner developing Wicca and Crowley and those guys, and then you had what was Crowley? Golden Dawn. So you had all these like archaic kind of things that were, and they just kind of lumped them all together and said witch and the devil, it's like they're all so completely different. They're very, very different.
Well, and so at the time, spiritualism also inspired the rise of psychic research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were just talking about this on my other podcast. The ESP Foundation has been around for like 100 years, and I didn't even realize that.
Wow, me either.
So, the talking about here the telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, more complex phenomenon of spirit contact. I guess necromancy is apparently talking to the dead to learn the future.
It's death magic, but yeah.
So they consider that's funny that they tied in like that, but they're not dead. Like, we don't die.
Right.
So
right.
The physical, the like my wife says, the body is a suitcase for the soul.
Yeah.
And so your suitcase falls apart, but the stuff in it keeps going.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. It's like in the Bible, you got a guy who's raising the dead. And remember that his believers were able to do that too later on. They were able to raise that. People forget that, like, Peter and all of those guys were able to raise the dead, and then they taught a new breed that was able to raise the dead and essentially do magic. Like, they forget that all that stuff happened, that necromancy, being able to speak to those that have passed on and things like that. That's all Jesus and his followers were doing that, but they forget that. They forget that because they cherry pick.
Yeah.
We're going to turn this into a religious fight. We got to be careful.
It is what it is. I mean, some things need to be pinpointed, and it's not like a lot of people, they want to come to my page and say, oh, you're the devil. And I'm like, no, I grew up in church, went to private school. That's not it. It's just that now that I know what I know on the spiritual side, I know that there are inaccuracies, big ones.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what I say when anyone finds out I read tarot or that I'm pagan or anything of that stuff. I'm like, you haven't done your research. That stuff you're talking about ain't even in the Bible. That's just stuff that you've heard culturally through TV and maybe through your pastor. Like that, you're the ignorant one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't walk into this lightly.
I go good with them because I know my scriptures a little bit, so I'm able to kind of. Right.
Same.
So, just to kind of keep us going here, many who participated in psychic research hoped for positive results. And one of the more prominent supporters was Sir William Crookes, who was a president of the Royal Society. The Royal Society, the National Scientific Organization of Great Britain, who investigated and pronounced genuine the materialization phenomena produced by medium Florence Cook. I don't know. Florence Cook? Hooker by Crook? I don't know.
Crook and Cook.
So those who placed their hopes in physical phenomena, however, were destined for disappointment. One by one, the mediums were discovered to be engaged in fraud, which I can understand. I mean, I can, Vashti, you probably know that sometimes when you want answers don't always come, right? And so,
well, not that I'm going to toot my own horn. For me, it is so easy because I'm able to receive all forms of communication through fill-in, through, all of that. So if I don't get an answer, honestly, you want to know why? It's because they aren't supposed to know that.
Exactly. Or there ain't one. And that's and skeptics, and we've always said this, skeptics are always looking through their own perspective. So James Randi, who was the biggest debunker in the world, who I love him though, he was great. He just passed away recently, but that was his whole thing, was debunking psychics. And he would do the craziest experiments, and I'm like, no, you're trying to prove psychism through the way you think psychism should work. And that's what I'm saying, because it doesn't work the way you think it works, therefore it's debunked. But you don't understand how this works. You can't measure the feeling I get in my gut when I know my grandmother's near. Or same thing, just because a skeptic could say, well, that's not a UFO because that very well could have been a bird that was carrying a bottle cap and it reflected off of the sun. We don't know that that's the case, but because that's a possibility that's less than the actual possibility of actually seeing a UFO, therefore it's debunked. Like, I hate
it's so complicated. You have to be a medium that is, I'm able to communicate with them so well, they're able to explain to me why they're not giving information. You have to know what you're dealing with. You have to know the spirits. You have to know how it works. So therefore, I am literally able to answer to everything or explain to the person why they aren't supposed to know. So mediums whose abilities are not quite at that level, they're going to have a little bit harder time receiving the information and understanding why they are not receiving the information. So it is through others' eyes, but at
and
the
on
level
top of that, there are people out there that scam, and those people are what make every real claim look stupid, because one negative can destroy 100 positives.
I'll tell you what, I that frustrates me so bad. I will go hard on somebody that I know is a fraud. There is a woman, I have a small arch enemy on IG. She literally, when I started on IG, she has the same amount of followers as she did 4 years ago. And she spews lies about different big murder cases and stuff. So I had to shut her down. But I get very emotional about that, because to me, it's just, these are people's families and
and again, that's where the term spiritualism for us today still comes in, because it is a spiritual thing for those of us that are a part of this movement, and those of us that seek out folks like you or like my sister and things like that. It is spiritual for them to be able to speak with those that have passed on, or to learn how to speak to spirit guides, or all of these things. It is very spiritual, and it is very emotional, and it's such a hampering thing when the one person, it's like, I do improv comedy, and improv is kind of a niche type of thing. And if they go to a team in town that's really shitty, that doesn't really care, they don't follow the rules, they don't do the things right, that's probably that only person's experience of improv they're going to get. And they're going to be like, see, I told you that was bad. Improv is just awful. And I'm like, no, you just didn't go to a good person, someone who's actually trained or knows what they're doing. But that's what happens, especially in these things like mediumship and all this stuff. It fits that same thing.
And there was that show on CBS that ran for like 9 seasons called The Mentalist. I don't know if you all watched that.
I
remember that.
But that show, like my wife is huge skeptic of mediums. And so and a lot of hers comes from that show. That show was fictionally written, but she looks at it and says, well, here's where he, did this that proved that this person wasn't, they were just randomly throwing words out there, and then you were associating those words.
It's like the same people that think because they watch CSI that was all real science. Like,
right.
It's a TV show.
This what we're talking about. This is why at first I didn't start doing it this way on purpose, but I'm glad my readings are through text. I do every single one of my readings through text, unless it's a murder or something more intense. But I literally have the whole conversation in black and white. And there's a lot of factors sometimes people being new to going to a medium or bad experiences to where they get a little frustrated going into it.
Yes.
And I will teach. I literally take extra time outside of what they paid for to teach them how it works.
I do the same thing when I read tarot. I tell them, I'm like, listen, here's
for two
what's
reasons.
happening.
So that they know, and also so if they go to somebody else, they know they can spot a fake or a fraud.
Right.
If you go to a medium, they should be able to give you detailed information that they could not possibly, that is how the spirits I talk to, they make sure they do that so that those people can get those chills, get the chills going and know that.
Those are the best moments. Those are, like, I've had that happen, or when I've even read tarot, when I get stuff coming in from my guides and I'm like, okay, hey, listen, my guide's telling me this. They're like, how did you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. It's just there.
Yeah. So I try to
that.
teach my people also. So it's a lot to it, but I have found my way through all this, through the fraud. People want to say, oh, you're a scammer. They expect the religious people. I'm sorry, but it is always the religious people that come to my page, try to wreak havoc on me, and
they ain't got nothing else better to do.
Right, right. But the proof is in the pudding. That's when it gets down to it. Okay, sit down and let me talk with you. Let me show you.
Yeah.
That's what Josh and our friend Santosh, that's what we call when we have these proofs that happen, we call it pudding moments, because it is. The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Oh,
so talking about frauds, back when all this stuff was really catching on, there were professional magicians such as Harry Houdini, who joined efforts to expose the fraudulent practices of mediums. In the 20th century, the magicians Milbourne Christopher and James Randi, there's your James Randi you talked about, Stefan, became known as much for their efforts to debunk fake mediumship as their stage work.
Yep.
And also I was watching, there's a show, Vash, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but there's a show on Netflix called Surviving Death.
I've passed it up. I haven't watched it yet. Yeah.
You should watch it.
Oh, you should watch it.
There's 2 full episodes on mediums. Like, it's excellent.
Yeah.
It's an excellent show.
But one of the episodes that I just finished the other night, one of the people on there talking about how apparently Penn and Teller also are huge against psychics and mediums, and they spend a lot of time on their shows and stage shows and stuff talking about how all this stuff is faked and here, let me prove it to you and all this kind of stuff. And it's back to what you said, Steph, and it's they're trying to, it's kind of like back in the early 1900s, people trying to debunk the first flight at Kitty Hawk, right?
Oh yeah,
it's impossible for people to fly.
People still try to debunk the moon landing.
Yeah, exactly.
But
people
like
try
Houdini,
to debunk that the Earth is round.
Some of them, like Houdini, like if you really dig into his story, he was trying to debunk because he wanted to find that it was real. Like he was doing everything he could to get the frauds out to find the truth, because he wanted to continue to wanted to communicate with his mother who had passed on, and he could not find a person that was able to do that, and that irritated him so much that's why he began debunking, because he was like, these are frauds, we need to get this out there. He was trying to find a way to truly communicate with his mother. And I don't remember if it was him that died or his wife that died, that where he was just like, I'm going to show you this isn't real, because when I die, I'm going to come back to you. You come back to me, or I'm going to come back to you. Blah. And of course it never happened. But yeah, Houdini's is a sad story. It was all about trying to communicate with his mother and not finding a real answer. That's what a lot of his came.
I never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I always learn a lot when I talk to you guys. Always. Great story.
I love this stuff, man.
Yeah.
So oddly enough, spiritualism did a lot better in Britain. Than the U.S.
Well, that's where Wicca was too, with Gerald Gardner, man. I love the Brits, man. As posh as they are, they randomly like some cheeky stuff. Like they got boobs and stuff on their regular TV. Like, and you're like, wait, really?
So
yeah,
so
we
is
don't.
That why, is that why you use your VPN to watch British television?
Yeah, I watch
Is that what it
BBC
is?
with a VPN. Yeah.
But also, I didn't realize this was a thing, but I guess it makes sense after the whole witch scare and all that kind of stuff there. But in the 1950s, they repealed their witchcraft laws. I didn't know they had witchcraft laws to begin with.
They did. So, and again, Gerald Gardner, part of when I became Wiccan, that we read a lot of Gerald Gardner, he was the man behind making that happen. That's a lot of the reason why witches met in secret and things like that, because of the burning times, and those witchcraft laws stayed on the books forever and ever and ever, and they would use them in modern ways. They could arrest you, you know. Yeah, they wouldn't burn you at the stake anymore, but they could still arrest you if they were a douchebag like cop. They could justifiably arrest you for witchcraft. And so a lot of that, so Gerald Gardner is like, this is religious persecution, this needs to go away, and him and a large number of folks finally got those laws repealed. But yeah, it was on the books for hundreds of years. It's ridiculous.
That must be why I don't like the oven or heat in cooking. My lifetimes, they must have got me at the stake or something in another life.
Or we were Hansel and Gretel in another life.
Something. I mean, I feel that way sometimes, you know, just especially coming full circle when I let my mind go to those thoughts. You know.
Well, and you got to remember, it wasn't just witches. They were, you know, it's the same thing. People think that only the Jews died in the Holocaust, but it was, you know, any colored person, handicapped folks. It was, you know, gays and lesbians. Same thing happened.
Women who read.
Yeah, women who read. But the same thing happened during the burning times as well. It was the same thing. Like the term fags, that's where that came from, because it was a bundle of sticks that they would use to burn gay folks with, and that's kind of where that term came from.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, fags is a bundle of sticks that was used to burn. That's why the Brits call cigarettes fags, because it's a stick that burns.
Right.
And, you know, so those things all came from that. It wasn't just witches or anything like that. It's just, it's horrible. It's horrible. That's why I get mad when anyone like makes jokes, like even to this day, about witches burning and stuff. I'm like, it's not funny. Like, some of us,
oh my gosh,
randomly still remember that, like in our past life.
Yeah, I swear, like I really feel that. I do. That there were moments.
So where to go from there? Well, let's talk about France and Brazil, because it was really successful in France and Brazil, where it was known as Spiritism, and they incorporated the idea of reincarnation. So successful has the movement been in Brazil that the French founder of Spiritism, Allan Kardec, has been pictured on Brazilian stamps.
Yep, I'm very familiar with that name. Yep. And this is where you start. So we're looking into like the 50s and 60s and 70s and stuff. This is where that yoga starts coming into it. The Hindu practices and all of this stuff becomes what is now the New Age movement. And
well, that's
really cool.
That's my next paragraph. It's almost like you're looking at my research, Stefan.
Almost. Nope.
Okay.
That's funny.
So the practice of mediumship enjoyed a rebirth in the 1970s as a significant activity within the New Age movement, which looked to the coming of the idealistic culture of the 21st century. New Age channelers claim to contact a variety of disembodied entities from ascended masters, which are the spiritual beings who are believed to guide human destiny, to extraterrestrials, other spiritualists who have since passed on, the dead. It says here that the New Age movement disappeared in the 90s, but I don't know that it ever really disappeared, as it is just maybe got out of the spotlight.
So the New Age movement back in the day was more organized. I think that's what they mean by that. Like, there were New Age centers and all of this stuff because of transcendental meditation, and you can still find vestiges of them, of Yogananda. Like, even in Phoenix, there's a temple here, but Yogananda is one of Santosh's not mentors, but one of his teachings is from Yogananda. And but back in the 70s, Yogananda was huge. There used to be these huge New Age and meditation centers, and it was this huge movement. And I think that's what that means by that is the 90s. I don't know. It's almost like because of the 80s, things went back more conservative again, and it kind of fell because it was all the boomers. If you think about it, they were the hippies in the 60s and 70s, and then in the 80s became Republicans, right? And so I think that pushed away, and I'm not even making a joke, but it's the truth.
Right.
And so they pushed away a lot of those kind of hippie thought processes, transcendental meditation and all that stuff that they were into, and global ecology and things like that, and kind of pushed that away. And then it was our generation that kind of grew up and kind of brought it back around, I guess. So I pulled all that out. So I don't
yeah.
But I feel like that's pretty spot on, though.
I think that's probably. Yeah. So just want to jump down here to talking about a couple of spiritualists. We've already talked about the Fox sisters, but there's also another person, Helena, and I'm going to butcher this last name.
Blavatsky.
Yeah.
I'm not even looking at the thing. Yeah, she's massive. Yeah, I would love to do a whole episode on her sometime. Like, she is very, very interesting.
So she was born on August 12th, 1831. Interesting. I'm August 11th here, so very close to my birthday. It's interesting that in the detail that I found, it said born on August 12th, July 31st, old style. Did we have a different calendar in 1831?
What?
I don't know. When did we start doing leap year and stuff like that? I don't know. That may have something to do with it.
Yeah, maybe. It's interesting, but I thought we've had.
Or
the
it
same
could be. I mean,
she
was like Ukrainian or whatever, so maybe they didn't use the.
Maybe they didn't
Julian
use
calendar.
the Gregorian.
Right.
Yeah, maybe they used because they are. Well, the Russians are very Orthodox, so they may have used the Gregorian calendar. Yeah, absolutely. That's probably what it is.
Oh, learn something new every day.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so from Ukraine, died May 8th, 1891 in London, England.
So close to my birthday, May 14th.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
Maybe that's who's in your kitchen.
Ain't no way.
Pause for dramatic effect.
Right.
You need to you need to insert a dun 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 in that little.
I can do that.
So she was a Russian spiritualist and author, co-founder of the Theosophical Society to promote theosophy.
Yes, the theologian, he loves talking about theosophy. Him and I have had a very good conversation before. That it's interesting. It's good stuff.
So at the age of 17, Helena Hahn married Nikifor Blavatsky, a Russian military officer and provincial vice governor, and then they separated after a few months. So they, I guess the spark wasn't there. She
not enough vodka.
Right.
Yeah. She became interested in occultism and spiritualism, and for many years traveled extensively through Asia, Europe, and the U.S. She also claimed to have spent several years in India and Tibet studying under Hindu gurus. In 1873, she went to New York City, where she met and became a close companion of Henry Scott Olcott. And in 1875, they and several other prominent persons founded the Theosophical Society.
Weird how things come up, because remember in our cryptid of the week, there was a Dr. Olcott spelled the same way.
Yeah.
Just weird when words come up twice.
Words come up twice. Yeah, that's really, In 1877, she had her first major work, which was titled Isis Unveiled. The book, she criticized the science and religion of her day and asserted that mystical experience and doctrine were the means to attain true spiritual insight and authority.
I agree.
Although Isis Unveiled attracted attention, the society dwindled. In 1879, Blavatsky and Alcott went to India. 3 years later, they established the Theosophical Society headquarters at Adyar near Madras.
God bless you.
Right.
And began publication of the society's journal, the Theosophist. What's the word, Stefan?
Theosophy.
Theosophist. I'm done.
The Holy See. That's what it feels like you want to say. But yeah, Theosophy, Theosophist, and these are still around, by the way. Like, you can still join the Theosophical Societies.
Really?
I just looked up one. There's one in Phoenix. I'm like, I'm about to check you out.
Right.
So asserting that she possessed extraordinary psychic powers, Blavatsky, during journeys to Paris and London, was accused by the Indian press of concocting fictitious spiritualist phenomena. Again, how do you prove something that you feel?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's like asking someone if they think, this is too spicy for you. You know, how do they know what's too spicy for you?
Right.
So,
amen.
Right. Well.
Let the church say amen.
So in there's apparently a report called the Hodgson report, Hodgson, where the findings of an investigation in 1885 by the London Society of Psychical Research declared her a fraud.
Mm-hmm. And that stuck on her. Like I said, one negative can destroy 100 positives.
Yeah. I mean, she pretty much basically said till the day she died that she had been unjustly condemned. Mm-hmm. And she lived quietly in Germany and Belgium and London. She, just kind of did some small stuff.
You talk about somebody that crosses communities. It's her. You'll find her mentioned in John Keel books about UFOs. You'll find her mentioned in books about Bigfoot. You'll find her mentioned with psychic stuff. You'll find her mentioned with mystical stuff, with magic, with everything. She is a huge influence, and that's why I said, like, I was excited to hear her name, because she's scary looking, though. I mean, she definitely looks like a mean old Russian lady, but like and it ruined her. You're absolutely right. It ruined her.
And so just to kind of close things off a little bit, so I do have a lot of detail about the Fox sisters, but I mean, do you all want to go through that? Or
no, we talked about that during our hoaxes, and we talked about it in the beginning. I think we're pretty good. Like I said, I looked up Theosophy, and it is the Theosophical Society in America. It's still a real thing. You can go to theosophical.org. In fact, they got the e-newsletter. I'm about to sign up for that, as well as I know we got a lot of our information from the National Spiritualist Association of Churches, the nsac.org. Check that out. And I highly recommend people to look up Blavatsky's books. You can actually get a lot of them for free on Kindle, just interesting stuff, man. And, and I always say that is take all this stuff with a grain of salt, because yes, there are always going to be people that are going to try to take your money. So it's same thing with preachers, though. You don't see people being like, well, there are scammer preachers out there. That means Jesus ain't real.
I swear, that's what I tell people. Because like handing a tray around, you know what I mean? So it's if you want to talk about
that's what I'm
fraud, saying. Why aren't they doing it from their heart? If that's the point, so I just can't.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like, so if the whole movement is shattered because you found one spiritualist to be a fraud, or even 20, then why is Christianity not destroyed by all the fraudulent preachers that we have found, right? It doesn't work that way. So neither does this movement. And just like you said, this movement is still a very big movement. And I am lucky now that I moved out to Phoenix, that this is a very big spiritualist new age area. Up in Sedona, they have what are those big psychic vortexes that people come from all over the world to be around. In Louisville, there's like one metaphysical shop. Here, I think there's like 25. Like, it's insane. And it's like, it makes me happy to remind me that there are a lot of people around the world that do believe this stuff. I mean, we talked about UFO sightings. There are more people just this year. What is it, like yearly? It's like 300,000 sightings every year or something like that, Josh, or 30,000 a month or something. I forget what it is, but it's like there are more sightings of a UFO than of anyone ever claiming to have seen Jesus, right? And that doesn't disprove Jesus. It's just saying, it's like we have more people saying they've seen a UFO. Yet it's considered taboo. Like, it's crazy to me. It's crazy.
But if I see the Mother Mary in my toast, then I get international news
or potato chip. You're gonna get on Ellen. You're gonna get on Ellen. And TikTok. Right. Your TikTok video is gonna soar. Oh man, I love this stuff. Thank you, man. I'm so glad you got to come hang out with us.
Me too. I'm sorry I missed last time. I had that flat tire, of course. That's
okay.
But yeah, I was so excited to talk with you guys tonight. And anytime invite me, and especially now, I was a little freaked out because I was like, oh God, it's a video call. Literally never done one. Y'all are my first.
Don't even worry. We don't even put the video out anyway, so we just take the audio. That's just for us.
Right. It doesn't matter though. You have to know me. I'm like, just because it's something new, but now right now.
It's fun. Well, I mean, I've had to do video calls so much because I like put out, hey, I'm gonna read your tarot, and I'm like, no, I can do it over Zoom. It's fine. I'll do it over Zoom, or I'll do it over Facebook, or over a phone call and stuff like that. So yeah, I've had to do that a number of times. My sister, though, who is also a medium, she's still kind of new in it, and she will not do anything over Zoom. She's like, no, I need you in the room. Like, she's just too nervous about it. I'm like, just trust your stuff, girl.
Right. And that's, you gotta trust yourself for sure. Aw. Mm-hmm. I want to say, just talking with you, I keep seeing, looking at you, so it's gonna be your right, but it's on my left, looking at you. I keep seeing a woman with blonde hair or light colored hair, and it comes to like right there a little bit above her shoulder. She looks, I don't know, she's not old woman. I don't know if I'm just seeing someone around you or if it's someone who's passed, but she's definitely keeps popping in my visual.
Probably. So. I mean, we have always known my Aunt Kathy. She died before I was born. That she has been with me. I saw her. She was the first ghost. Was she like
40s? Was she like a middle?
No, at the time she was pretty young. Well, truth be told, I don't know how old she was. I think she was like in her early 20s though. But I mean, people kind of look the way they want to look.
Well, this woman she's older.
Is different.
Yeah, she looks like she could be even maybe late 40s, early 50s, even around there. So, but she keeps popping in. I just had to mention her because.
Well,
maybe we can go into more detail and figure out who she is. She's definitely wanting to be seen. So.
Oh, I believe.
Well, and Stefan, you had that incident with your chair getting pulled back into the kitchen too.
I did a couple weeks ago.
Oh my God, is this somebody in your house that I'm seeing? It's not a bloodline person to you then.
I don't know. Like, I'm just in this temporary, we're actually moving this week. Yeah, we're actually moving this week. We're in this like temporary apartment. But yeah, a couple weeks ago, I was just sitting here and was like,
sitting right where you are now?
Yeah, I was sitting here and it grabbed my chair and pulled me back while I was in it. And
she keeps coming right behind you in the video. So this is someone that is attached to that space. That's what
could be.
What it, yeah.
This is an older place, I think. I don't know much about it, like I said, because it's a glorified Airbnb. So we're just.
And I
here
wish you could find out
months.
who used to live there. That would be cool.
I know. I could probably do some research and look into it, though. I'd be interested in doing that. But I mean, I also have a lot of people that follow me around and things like that. I mean, it could be my grandmother. I mean, there's a lot of folks that
but
could
if she's not in that age group and if that doesn't fit her hair, this woman has almost like a bobbed haircut, like bangs. She doesn't wear makeup. She was kind of more of a plain face. She's just maybe a regular build, average build. I think she's attached to your house. I don't feel a bloodline connection immediately, so that makes that.
We always joke that because I have this book here, the Encyclopedic Psychic Dictionary, and June G. Blitzer, and we always joke this came out in the 1980s. Well, I was like, oh man, we use it every week for our psychic word of the week, and I was like, oh, we should look up and see if we can find this author. Well, she had passed away, so I've been joking for like 3-4 months now that she's been in the room with me, and I'm like, what if it's June G. Blitzer?
Shut up! Why do I want to look her up now? Her picture, if she's a blonde.
Yeah. I'm looking and I can't find a picture of her anywhere.
I've seen one, I think. I can't remember. But yeah, like I looked her up. I was so sad that she had passed on.
Wow.
Yeah. But I love that.
That's how it happens, though. It'll call them. If you are using their book or you mention their name, it'll call them to you. So very possible.
And we use her every week, and I invoke her every time. I'm like, if you're here, I feel you.
Show? God, what if that is her? I swear, this woman, she popped in literally while we were talking the whole hour about 4 or 5 times.
That is
literally
awesome.
That many times.
I love that.
Man, I really wish I could find a picture of her now.
I know, right?
I know, me too. I'm like, where's she at? Of course, her picture ain't in this book either. But yeah. I don't know, but the book is cool. I was actually given one of my medium friends, Barb Jordan. She had passed away years ago. When she passed away, her daughter was like, oh, hey, Barb wanted you to have a number of her tarot decks and a couple of her books. And that's where I got this book was from Barb, who had passed away. So, there's already a psychic connection with this book.
Right, right.
Brittle old. Oh, teeth old, like. But anyways, yeah. Thank you. I'm gonna be researching for sure because I want to know who that is too. I love that.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping you might see somebody behind me. That's why I took my background off.
Oh. No, yeah, no, not yet. But yeah, that woman, she just kept poking her head in so often.
I've always felt somebody in here, and that's what I said. Like I felt a hand on my shoulder a couple times. I felt the chair pulled. Like,
I'm telling you.
But it's not. But I mean, I've had that happen other places too. But I know since I've been here, it's happened a bit. So that definitely makes me wonder if she's
in that particular spot in your house. Like if it's in this particular area where you sit at, that's where I'm seeing her. I didn't feel her over this way. I feel her.
Yeah.
In there.
This is where the dining room is. This is the dining room table, and then the kitchen is right behind me.
Okay.
So.
Wow.
Yeah, now I know how old we're about. I'm literally like I just took stuff over today to the new apartment, so I'm like literally moving this week. But I'm like, no, now I want to look into it.
That's cool.
Oh man.
So,
all right.
Stefan, did you want to give her a chance to plug anything?
Yeah. Is there anything that you wanted to plug besides your normal stuff, or even your normal stuff?
Right now, no. Just of course, all of my 4-year predictions have come around. If you are interested in catching up on that, as far as everything that's happening in Washington and all that good stuff. That's pretty much all the major things that are going on right now. The month of February, I'm almost full, but I don't cover love year round, just so that I can focus on the more serious, like murder, the things like that. So I felt I didn't want to leave them out, so I dedicated all of February to love reading. So I can throw that out there. I'm doing love all the month of February.
Yep, and I still think you need to collect a lot of those predictions and put them in a book, man. Because
well, everything. My IG page is literally my book already.
I know, and I'm saying so that 100 years from now, people look back and they were like they did with Nostradamus. They'll be like, I've got the book of Vashti. Look, this is. She said that this was going to happen.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to get it kind of more organized, but I'm looking into growing myself a little bit bigger, and getting a few people to help me also. So.
Yep. Well, we are always here for whatever you need, and we will always put you out there because we love you.
I did want to mention one more thing. The national, what's it called? National Convention, Natural Spiritual Association of Churches. They have a conference this year in Seattle.
Really?
So if you go out to their website, nsac.org, there's a place on there you can learn more about all of their stuff, but also their conference. And like I said, it says details coming, but it's going to be in Seattle sometime.
Yeah, I
this
think
year.
that's just because of COVID, all that stuff. But yeah, if we got to Seattle, we could stay with Aaron Lenny. I'm just saying.
I've been to Seattle one time. That's it.
Me too, just once, but I liked it.
I did
liked it
too.
though. But I like my sunshine in Arizona now. It was 75 today.
I have another brother in Arizona, in Phoenix.
Oh.
Yeah, one here and one there. So yeah.
There you go. I'm gonna know when I see him too. I'm gonna be like, brother.
I'm telling you.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Vashti. We love you. Like I said, you can come on anytime you want to. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us and talk about this stuff because it's fun.
Yes, I enjoyed it so much. Yes.
Yep. And Josh always drops stuff at me that I'm like, ooh, I need to do some research now on my own. Like I always, I always think I know a lot and then I don't. So
that's the way I feel. I want to look up a lot of these people and research them. That's pretty cool.
Thank you so much as usual. And
you.
we'll be in touch as usual.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Night.
You too. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you so much to Vashti. You guys know you can find her on Instagram and all that jazz. She is amazing. Thank you, honey buns. And of course, we'll have her back on again talking about some other stuff. But I did want to quickly, before we get out of here, Josh, I wanted to get into our listener story for the week, which comes from a woman named Robin New, and she's from Louisville, Kentucky. She's a Louisville, Kentucky listener. And she's got a story from when she was a teen. And so let's go ahead and check out what she has to say.
I lived in a haunted apartment when I was a teenager. The whole apartment felt off from day one. One morning, I was headed out to school just before the sun came up and before anyone in my family should have been up. You had to take a few steps down the stairs to be able to get a full view of a chair in front of a window next to the front door. Well, that morning, there was a person sitting in that chair. It was dark, but there was enough light coming in through the window to make out the shape of a woman with light-colored hair just sitting there. I thought it was my mom at first, and I asked why she was down there in the dark. And then I got this sickening feeling in my stomach, and I knew right away that wasn't my mom. It felt like I stood there watching her forever. I finally went back up the stairs and into my mom's room and told her what I saw. She went back down with me, and neither of us saw that figure. It was just a window and a chair. Another night in the same apartment, my little brother and my sister were asleep in their rooms. My mom and I were watching a movie, and all of a sudden my little sister started crying. When we get into the room, she is in the corner of the bed, perched up against the wall, crying, "She won't give me my blanket back." And we noticed that her blanket was gone. We looked and found it completely under the bed. We always felt like we were being watched from that bedroom's closet.
I've been watching that show that you told me I should watch, that Surviving Death on Netflix. And we watched an episode last night that was all about I can't remember what they're called, but messages from the dead, so like
the mediums,
butterflies. No.
Oh,
messages,
like omens.
It's like, no, it's like you smell your grandfather's, like I smell my grandfather's cigarette smoke, that kind of stuff's like signs from the dead or whatever. I don't know what to call it, but they call it something else. But anyways, one of the thinking about in that aspect or that thought process, and then this telling, it makes you wonder if whatever spirit was coming there was just really trying to get somebody's attention, just trying to let them know that they're there. And that whole idea of I get a sickening in my stomach, that is your fight or flight mechanism.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. It just means that your brain is saying you need to make a decision. Are you going to stay here or are you going to leave?
Yeah.
And a lot of times that, right. Or that results in that kind of sickening in the stomach. But that, it's too many times I think people equate that fight or flight reaction to a negative presence.
Right.
And it's not, it's just a fear of the unknown. So,
yeah. No, I completely agree. And it's exactly what it is. And yeah, it's like your instinct knows something's up, but your eyes don't see it. You know what I mean? It's like, that's why you always hear, especially in like the field, if you're ghost hunting or anything along these lines, monster hunting, demon hunting, whatever you're doing, trust your gut.
Yeah.
If your gut says get out of there, get out. And Keith will tell you he's had some instances where he felt he should have got out, but he didn't. And then he gets knocked back like 10 feet and he wished he would have trusted his gut.
Yep.
So, but yeah, again, not all are malevolent. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes they just want you to know, hey, I'm here. I want to be noticed because, maybe they don't know that they're supposed to move on or anything like that. And they just, or they have something they want to tell you and they don't know how to communicate, because they can't biocommunicate.
Right. Well, and they, maybe they haven't figured out how to manifest words or speech or whatever the case may be.
Right. Or, I don't know. Yeah. There's not a ghost hunter there with a ghost box, or a Ouija board or whatever.
It's as odd of a movie it was. I mean, the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze is a really good kind of idea or conception that, he dies, and so sorry for anybody who hasn't seen the movie, but he dies and he has to learn how to manipulate objects, right? He has to, he spends that time in the subway learning how to flick the bottle cap.
Yep.
So that's kind of the same, I think, when you pass from the physical realm into the spiritual realm, you have to retrain yourself how to do things because you don't have physical fingers anymore to do stuff or physical voice box and so on and so forth.
Exactly. So you got to learn how to use the new medium that you're in. But
That's
yeah,
right.
Thank you again to Robin New. Thank you for sending in that story. You guys can send in your stories to fearscapepodcast@gmail.com or simply go to fearscapepodcast.com. Click submit a sighting or click on the chat with us icon, or simply go to @FearScapePod at Instagram or Twitter. Anywhere we are. FearScape, Facebook, I don't care. Hit us up. We'll take your PMs or whatever. But yeah, Josh, let's go ahead and get out of here. Just a reminder to check out all the other shows on the FearScape Media Network. You can go to fearscapemedia.com, as well as our new show with Santosh, Astral Stew, which you can find on our YouTube channel. Check that out, and make sure to like and review and share and all that stuff, because we want to get more people to listen so that you don't feel so awkward, Miss 19-year-old.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but on that, again, thank you to Vashti. Josh, thank you, sir. Thank you for being mountainous.
You're welcome. Also, does that mean I rock?
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yep. Unless you're in the Appalachians, then you're just dirty.
Oh, okay.
You're just dirty. All right, let's get out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been Stefan. I will catch y'all on the flip side.
This has been Josh. The truth is now.
And remember, folks, hold those blankets extra tight, because when you're listening to FearScape, things tend to get spooky. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I'm so glad you were able to join us for that horrifying discussion. I hope they didn't frighten you too much. Tune in next week for even more research into the nightmarish and haunting creeps and spooky spooks that we tell ourselves don't exist, but we know they do. Make sure you have your blankets, that you hold them extra tight. Next time on FearScape.